All right. Hey, so welcome everybody. This
Hey.
is episode number 8.
8.
Oh,
Yep.
gosh.
For Kobe.
That is crazy.
Oh, man.
Crazy.
Of the lockdown, because we have lockdown a name for the Lockdown podcast.
Yeah. So finally we chose the name. Some of you guys made some comments on, we had different options, but finally the lockdown is what the name that we finally locked down on.
Love it.
So
Lockdown.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what's been on your mind lately? What's on your mind? What are you thinking on?
Let's see. What are we locking down today? I think we had a staff meeting. We have staff meetings, for those of you who don't know, every Friday.
Yep.
And I kind of talked about this a little bit at the staff meeting. But what's really been on my mind is just leading people to an authentic, genuine relationship with Jesus. And like a lot of the times, like our programs are great and they're fine. But if we're not careful, we could lead them to ourselves instead of Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what I don't want to ever happen.
Right.
Or that is what I don't want to ever happen.
Yeah.
Is to lead somebody to myself. Now, granted, God can use me, he can use you, then that's what we're for, we're shepherds, and we're supposed to point people to places instead of point people to ourselves.
Of course.
But that's really been the thing on my mind, because I see in John chapter 13, and for those of you who are familiar, it's the Last Supper, meaning the Last Supper before Jesus is to go get crucified. And he's just eating with his disciples, and he says, my hour has come, and the question that's been on my mind is like, why did Jesus have to leave? Why couldn't he just stay here? Wouldn't it have been better if he was here? Like, wouldn't people just be buying plane tickets to Jerusalem to go see him do his healings and whatnot? But I think the point is that Jesus is saying, like, yes, I am the way, the truth, and the life, but I don't want you to fully rely on the miracles and the physical things that I could do. It's about the matters of the heart. Yeah. And a true love for God, not for what he can do.
Yeah. 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 Cause that's so true. Cause in our line of work, we're communicators, and we're always talking to people, we're counseling, we're doing all these things. How easy it is for people to get confused into thinking that we have answers, that we are sort of the ones that are going to guide them, or the ones that have, that silver bullet of, nugget of truth, or whatever, however you want to say it, that's going to solve everything. Right. Because I in counseling and in preaching and just talking to so many people, there's a lot of situations like that where they'll come to you as a pastor, as a leader, and they come with problems and they want for you to solve them. Yeah. And and I can understand that, because people need hope and they need to find, some sort of restoration and whatever it is that they're looking for. Right. But we can fall into that trap as well, to think that we're the ones that are providing the hope. Yeah. And we talk about this a little bit in our staff, is that's like this is what we do, is we bring people hope, right? But that hope isn't in ourselves. Exactly. That hope is in Christ. Right. So we always have to point to Christ. Right. In that, so I think it's a good distinction to make, in the sense that, when Jesus left the earth, he left, the counselor, which is the Holy Spirit, which basically means Jesus inside of you. Yeah. And, the counselor and the guide and all these different qualities that the Holy Spirit has, this intangible, thing that convicts us on the inside, knowing that Jesus is always with us. And so I think it's important. What you're saying is so important, because we don't want to draw people to ourselves. Yeah. We have to draw people to Jesus. And I think we can fall into that when it comes to people's conviction about sin and the things that they need to change. From the stage, we can preach a gospel that has to do with wanting the person to change their ways, and sometimes what we tend to do is we tend to point, not we, I'm saying it, we, like in a general sense, is pointing to people's sin, and saying these are the things that you need to change. Well, we're not called to point out anything. We're called to point out, we're not called to point to the sin of the person. We're called to point the person to Jesus. Yeah. And then Jesus does the work.
Jesus is going to do the conviction.
Yeah, because then that separates us, and it makes, each person, you were saying this earlier, each person is going to stand alone before God.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
And so it's really about them with Jesus, and we're ushering in truths about the word and truths about God and all that kind of stuff. But it's really between the person and God.
Right.
So
Right. How do you? Because is there a line to walk to where it's like, okay, I have this calling. You know I have this calling to preach the gospel. I know I have this calling to be a leader. But how do you walk that line of, okay, I have this calling, but it's not about me, and I need to make it all about God. But then I also know that God's put me in this position to oversee people.
Yeah.
But then how do you equip people? How do you empower people in those when you have a leadership position?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. It's a great question. Because your responsibility as a leader is to represent Christ. So we're Christ's ambassadors, right? So we represent the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we do. But our job is not ever to draw people to ourselves, but to draw people to Christ. I got lost in the question. I can't remember what the question specifically was.
Yeah. So it's like, how do I walk in the calling of like, okay, I am supposed to be overseeing these people and so to speak, spiritually above these people. But how do I also empower them so that they don't think that they have to be below me, but they're only under God. But organizationally, God has placed me above. Like, for example, for you and me, we all have teams that we oversee.
Yeah.
Right? We're technically above them organizationally, but we're not above them spiritually.
No, right.
So how do we like walk that line? Okay, God's given me this calling.
Yeah.
But I need to empower that person to understand that.
That's great. You know, that's such a great question. So the question of leadership is not a position. It's not a position.
Wow.
So you
guys got to write that down.
You don't.
That's good.
So you don't. So there's positional leadership. Which is like you're the CEO. So somebody hired you to be the CEO. That's one thing, right?
Yeah.
But leadership is given to you by others. In other words, you have to earn that leadership.
Yeah.
You know, because like I'm the lead pastor here at the church, but that doesn't mean that anyone's going to respect me.
Right.
Just because of the position. You know, I have to earn credibility.
Yeah.
I have to earn. People have to, like, I'm still new in the church. I've been here for like a year and a half, which is not that new, but there's this period in your leadership to where everyone's quite like, they want to know, who is this guy? Like, what is he really about? And I understand that, you know, especially staff in the church, they're just observing you. They want to know if there's any substance, right? And so that's really the make or break of leadership, especially in church, because you work with volunteers, mainly as volunteers in the church. And that's the make or break of a leader is there any substance to the person? Like, is he just saying words, or is he actually what he says that he is? And I think that there's a direct correlation between your credibility and that others will allow for you to lead them, especially in our line of work, to which most of the people that work with you, you could say in the business world work for you, are volunteer.
Yeah.
So no one's getting paid.
Right.
So you have to really earn that. So you can't rely on positional leadership. You have to actually give people. You have to be a leader worth following, or no one's going to follow you.
Or no one's going to follow.
They're just not going to do it.
Right.
You know.
Exactly.
In the business world, you can just hire a bunch of part-time people, have them work for you, and have them do what you ask them to do. Right. In church, it's different. So they have to give that to you, and you have to earn it. Yeah. You have to earn it.
That's good.
And so as you're teaching and you're leading, I think the main thing is that you don't give too much of your own opinion. You want to give people what the Bible is teaching, like the biblical principles, so that they understand that they're not under your authority. They're under the authority of God. You know, and so I try to say this all the time to you guys when we're talking, is like my job, I don't see it as like quote unquote Jesus, in the sense that, you know, follow me. No. I don't see that. I see myself as more like John the Baptist, like preparing the way for the next. So I'm only going to be here for a little bit. Yeah. You know, and then the next person will take on, and then the next person. Our church has been around for 150 years. You know, so
151 now.
151 years. Yeah. And so that's kind of the whole idea behind it. I don't know if that's helpful.
No, that first statement, that was a big bar that you just dropped.
What was that again?
Said,
what did it say?
You said leadership is not a position.
It's not a position.
It's not a position.
It's not.
That's
It's
really
not.
good. Please write that down. If you're taking notes on the Lockdown podcast, leadership is not a position.
It's not a position.
Yeah. Oh, did the Instagram
Yeah,
stop?
it was I think it was bad connection.
Oh,
there it is.
okay.
It's back.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, we have people watching live online on Instagram as well. So
Yeah.
they're joining us.
How's it going?
What is okay, I guess since we're on the topic of leadership.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is like your favorite thing about leadership? Like why? Because clearly, I mean, we love leadership. We could talk strategies, we could talk systems, all
Yeah.
that. What is your favorite thing about leadership?
The favorite thing about leadership, the most rewarding
Most
thing
rewarding
about it
thing, yes.
is watching people grow.
Wow, yeah.
Oh, dude, I just love
100%.
that. You know, one of the things I used to love to do is watch my dad when he would take care of the garden. So he would take care of the our backyard, and he would. I remember there was this time period when it was only dirt outside. It was just a bunch of dirt, and then my dad, he brought these little squares of grass, but there wasn't enough to fill the whole backyard. It was only like they were just sporadic, a few squares here and there, and he was like, "You're gonna watch this thing grow," and he'd just start watering those things, these
Yeah.
little squares, and I would watch as the roots would start growing out, and then the one that was on the right and on the left, so there was this big patch of dirt in between, and they would just start like connecting, and then there was
Wow.
this whole thing. So after, I don't know, maybe a year or so, it was all full of grass.
Wow.
And so I love watching that process.
Yeah.
And the same is true with church and with leadership, is that the most rewarding thing is watching people grow. Like my payday is when I watch, for example, you preach on a Sunday.
Oh.
And I'll watch you preach, and I'm like, dude, that is so amazing. Or like the three guys that preached last Sunday at our Spanish service.
That was awesome.
I'm like, man, it was their first time. They were so nervous,
Yeah.
dude. But just watching them preach and watching them just bring the word,
Yeah.
that to me is just so incredibly rewarding.
Right.
That's by far the thing that I enjoy the most about leadership.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, because leadership is really about others.
Yeah.
It's always about others
Right.
and watching others grow, and it's
Right.
about giving away. Some people are afraid of giving things away, but no, the more you give away, the more you get. You know,
Right.
it's better to give than to receive.
Right.
Right.
Yep. It's biblical.
Yeah.
It is biblical.
Yeah.
This is a tougher question.
Uh-oh.
Do
Hope
you-
I have an answer. You're making me nervous.
Do you think that anybody can be a leader, or do you think that everybody is called to be a leader?
I think everybody leads. I think everybody is a leader. I think whether you realize it or not, you're a leader. Everyone's a leader, because leader means influence. That's what it is. It's influence, and
That's
so
a good way to
whether,
put it.
yeah, so whether you're leading your family or
Yeah.
you're leading, if you got nobody, you just have a dog, you're leading your dog, and
Yeah.
you're taking them wherever you're going,
Right.
or, and even in interactions that seem, insignificant, like just, interacting with a clerk or at a restaurant, whatever, you're leading them in a way, because your interaction with another person is always going to be influential.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, are you being a good leader or a bad leader? Or are you
Right.
leading people astray, or are you leading them to the truth?
Right.
But we're all leading. The question is, what
yeah.
are we doing with that power that we have?
Wow.
So I think it's just a matter of levels,
Yeah.
levels of leadership. So
Right.
maybe leading one person, that would be one level. You're leading 10 people, that's another. I mean, it's a weird
Right.
way to put it, but I think that it's just a matter of who you're leading, or how many people you're leading, and what you're leading them to.
Yeah. No, that's a good way to put it. And I think, I think I mentioned this before, but that book that you gave me, which I'm finishing up right now, Chad Veach's book, about leadership, he says that the number one thing about leadership is like leading yourself.
Yeah.
So no matter what, like if you're watching, you're a leader. You're leading yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like, how are you leading yourself to get better? Because when we lead ourselves to get better, that's when we can lead others to get better
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Because kind of like what you said, you have to build that trust with people, and if we're not leading ourselves good,
Yeah.
if we're not leading ourselves in a manner that's worthy of the Lord,
Yeah.
then other people aren't going to have that trust in us
Yeah.
to lead. And that's the same thing with with your family, with your dog even.
Yeah.
If you don't feed your dog, he's not going to want to listen to you.
That's right. Yeah.
So we have to, I think the best, or the number one person that we have to lead is ourselves.
Yes.
So no matter what, I do agree. I think everybody's a leader at some capacity.
Yeah.
Because even if you're just leading yourself, that's tough it's tough enough to lead ourselves.
It's probably the hardest person.
Probably the
to
hardest
lead
person to
is
lead.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard someone say this once. I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Craig Rochelle. He said something to the effect of, think of a leader that you admire. Like think of this person that you admire, right? Think of him. And okay, what does he eat? What time does he get up in the morning?
Yeah.
Does he work out? Does he not work out?
Right.
How much time does he dedicate to his family? How much time does he dedicate to his wife? Like, just describe this person. And then he was like, now you got to be that person.
Go do it.
That's who
Yeah.
you want to be.
Right.
That's what you want to be. So
Right.
put that on paper, write it down, and then,
Yeah.
just be that person.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
That's why I started working out again. It's because I see you and I see like the different leaders that I follow, and they all get up early and start working out.
They all work out. Yeah. The other thing, I think it was, I don't know who it was, but it was something that somebody wrote. I saw it a couple of days ago on Facebook or Instagram, and it was this picture of this cart, like this grocery cart, and it said something to the effect of, no one who is successful ever like leaves the cart next to the car. He'll always take it back.
Yes.
So I don't know who, did you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I never forgot it.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, sometimes I do it and sometimes I don't. But I think that
Same.
ever since I saw that, I'm like, I'm just going to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So it's about making those, like doing, somebody's really simplified, like living a life worth living is all about just doing the next right thing.
Yeah.
Just do the next right
thing.
Keep it simple.
And it's I think the best leader ever obviously is Jesus.
Of course,
because
by far.
the way that he led was through serving.
Yeah.
He was never beneath. That's what made me think of it, because when you put the cart back, you're serving the organization.
Yeah.
Because they have people, like literally, my girlfriend Victoria, she works at Whole Foods, and so sometimes she's on cart running duties, right? And so what they do is they literally for like 4 hours go and fetch carts, which is a good workout for the worker. And
Yeah.
they get paid to do it. But if you're a leader, you're gonna think, how can I best serve somebody else? Right. So if like my girlfriend out there is out there just putting the carts back at Whole Foods, and she's got carts all over all over the parking lot, and you go to Whole Foods and you say, you know what, let me just help Victoria out and put the cart back. And that helps. That helps. You know, it's all about serving. I once heard that what was the line? It was like, if you're too big to serve, you're too small to lead.
Oh, I love that.
If you're too big to serve, you're too small to lead. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, because you're right. I mean, Jesus teaches us that we're not called to be beneath anything or above anything.
Yeah.
And Jesus, he interacted with the most powerful people, and then he interacted with the people who had nothing and were nobodies.
Yeah.
He did that full spectrum. The same thing, Philippians chapter 2 talks about Jesus being above everything, being God, and then went down to the least, and to the suffering, and to the humiliation, and then God exalted him once more. And so it's that whole idea we're called, that's servant leadership. And one of the questions that I heard a pastor say once, referring to the moment when Jesus was washing his disciples' feet, he asked this question. He's like, when you're the most powerful person in the room, what do you do with that power?
Yeah.
Right. So Jesus, what does Jesus do? He gives it up every time. He'll give up his power. He won't take his equality with God as something to use to his own advantage.
Yeah.
He strips himself of that. So we're called to do the same thing. So when we're doing the cart thing, it's like, I don't have to do that.
Right.
There's someone that's in charge of this. I'm not going to humiliate myself and you do that. You take the attitude of a servant, and it's a mindset. It's not really about the cart. It's not about any of that stuff. It's a mindset of serving. How can I serve you?
How can I help somebody?
How can I help you?
Yeah. That's good.
But the question is also, when it comes to, leading, is that at the same time we have to be served. We have to strip ourselves of authority, really. But how do we balance that between taking the attitude of a servant, but also leading and having tough conversations and confronting people when they're wrong, and guiding your staff and your team, and having these awkward, uncomfortable conversations that need to be had?
Right. Are you asking me?
And I'm just.
Okay.
It's a question that just comes into my brain right now.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's a big difference with telling someone to go do something and then going to do it with them. It doesn't mean you have to do it with them all the time.
Yeah.
But if you just tell somebody, hey, go stack those shit. Like for me and Adrian, shout out to one of my students, Adrian.
Adrian.
When we set up chairs on Sunday morning, right? Like I could just tell him, hey, go get those chairs, stack them. I got to prepare the live stream or whatever.
Right.
You know, but I go and we go and do the chairs together.
Yeah.
Now he knows how to set up the chair. I mean, this
Correct.
is something small, you know, just setting up chairs. He can set up the chairs by himself, and then now he can get somebody else to do it with him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so it's like it's about doing it with people. Yeah, like, and that's the same thing I think about when I think about preaching.
Yeah.
Is like I don't think about talking to people. I think about talking with people.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think that's the most effective way, especially that I've seen it in my ministry, is every time I ask somebody to do something, I want to make sure that I've already done it.
Yes.
Or I'm going to do it with them, and then let them run free with it.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Because I think it goes back full circle to what we were talking about at the beginning with, you know, how do you become a leader? Like how do you lead people?
Yeah.
We said leadership is something that is actually earned. It's not just a position.
Yeah.
And those are the types of things that are going to allow for people to follow you, is because they're always asking that question in the back of their minds. Whatever you're telling your people, they're always asking, where's his authority lie? Like, does he have any authority? Like, there's something about, they're maybe not going to process it in that way, but whatever you're saying, they're going to put it on trial. Everything that you say is going to be put on trial with your life.
Yeah.
So they're going to, maybe they'll do it because they're just going to do it. But at the same time, you'll be able to inspire them if you have a life that supports what you're saying.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes. You'll be,
So then you'll be like, hey, could you bring those chairs over? And they're going to be like all over it because they know who you are.
Right.
But a guy that doesn't have the authority and hasn't earned that type of equity with people, you ask him to bring chairs and like, who's this guy? Like, why should I do anything for him?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So
That's good. One of to bounce off of that, one of the pastors that I follow, his name's Mike Todd, and he says that trust is earned in droplets and lost in buckets. So it's like, as a leader, it's like we have to, it takes a long time and it takes time to build equity, to build trust. But one thing
it can
just throw it all away.
So true.
How do you, as a leader, how do you build that trust, and how do you stay resilient? You know, and how do you know when somebody is like, okay, that person is not somebody, I don't want to phrase it that way, but that's not somebody I want to spend my time pouring into. You know? Yeah. How do you be resilient? How do you know when the right person is to pour into and the wrong person? I guess that's a better way to do it.
I'm not always right about this. You know, there's some wiggle room in the sense that you don't always get it right. But over time, you realize that some people are hungry. You know, they're hungry. They want to learn.
Yeah.
They're open. They're learners. That's one of the main things. You know, there's some people that tend to be a little, I don't know if the right word is patronizing, to where it's like, you know, there's something about it that you're not sure. There's something that's overly, like when you see, this is really, you know, when you see someone that is like overly excited about something, or they're like laughing too hard at your jokes, and it's like, there's like this disconnect between, like, that joke wasn't that funny.
Yeah.
Like, why is he laughing that much?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or like, you're just telling like a story that's kind of sad, and the person is like overly sad, like they're trying to show you how sad they are.
Yeah.
There's something about it. There's a disconnect to where it makes me wonder what the agenda is. You know, it's one of those things that you develop over time, and you see patterns in people, and so you wonder what's behind that.
Yeah.
You know, so that's one thing. But I would say that and you never always get it right, and I don't want to become someone who's cynical, but over time you see some patterns. That would say one thing. That's kind of intangible. It's really hard to teach. It's more like you learn it over time.
Right.
The other thing is that not only are they eager to learn, but they will take criticism well. They'll take it well. They won't take it as a personal attack. They'll take it as there's this understanding, and it's subtle. Some people think that ministry is about them. and other people understand that ministry is about the ministry. It's
Yeah.
about what Christ is
Yeah.
doing. And
Right,
so
right.
when you take yourself out of the equation and understand that you're just a vessel, we're free to just talk about the ministry.
Yeah.
And so when I'm correcting you, I'm not correcting you because you're a bad person or because this. No, it's not personal. It's about making the ministry better.
Yeah.
You know, so people that understand that intuitively,
Right.
I want to invest in those people.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing is when you see two sides to a person, like they're one way when they're with you, and then they're a different way when they're not with you.
Yeah.
So I like watching people. This is gonna sound creepy, but I like watching them when they don't know that I'm watching them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that I'm gonna sneak up and
Right,
like watch you when you sleep type of
Yeah,
a thing.
right.
But it's like, for example, if I'm with you right now, and then we're in a group and you're with other people and I'm over here, I want to see how you're interacting with that group. And is there a disconnect? I mean, obviously we're different with different
Right,
people. I
right.
understand that.
Yeah.
But that there's a contradiction. If there's a contradiction between the way that I see the
Right.
person here and the way that
Right.
so those are all like sort of like indicators that
Yeah.
raise flags in my mind, and it makes me decide who I really want to invest in, because I want to trust the people.
Right. No, of course. And I
wanna-
want to see people, and we've talked about this. Like when we see people, we got to see them as like the best version,
Best
of them-
version. Best
of
version.
themselves. How do you know when it's been too long? Like
do you mean?
I've been trying too long with this person.
When do you give up?
When do you get it? Is there giving up?
Well, when did Jesus give up on me? That's the thing.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
that's true.
Like if we bring it to Scripture and we think about what Jesus did for us,
Yeah.
he never gave up on us.
Right.
He never gave up on us. You
Right.
know. So we had a situation happen in our church this week where there was someone. I won't go into any details, but it was that whole idea of, you know, we had the thought of giving up on this person because XYZ, whatever it was that happened, this person had been sort of flaky in some things, and then has been given an opportunity, and then another opportunity, and then another. This has been like the fifth time. And so the question was, you know, should we keep helping? You know, because there seems to be no change.
Right.
And my question is always, well, maybe this is the time. Maybe this will be the time.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
So I don't think we should ever give up. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone should have the position that they want. You know,
Yeah, that's true.
because we have to look for the good of the church as well. So when you're choosing your staff and the people that you're going to put in the different positions, you have to think, yes, about the individual, but also you have to think of the collective and how is the
Yeah.
individual going to affect the collective. Because one of the mistakes that we can easily make is we have the wrong person in the wrong spot, and we're trying to help that person, but our responsibility isn't to give people work.
Yeah.
Right? Our responsibility is to find the right people for the right positions.
Right,
For the
exactly.
benefit of the church.
For the benefit of the church.
You know?
That's
So,
good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So how we doing?
What are we at?
30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow, that was quick.
It was very quick. It's very
But,
quick.
All right.
Good
so
conversation.
Good talks always. Lockdown leadership kind of.
Yeah. Episode
we
8.
we could talk about leadership
Nonstop.
nonstop.
Yeah, we'll keep it going.
Yeah. But,
All right.
All right. Thanks, Josh.
All right, you guys have a good one. See you
All right.
next time.
Bye.